Great, thank you. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our March meeting. It is 7:05, so I'm calling the meeting to order. And the first agenda item is the approval of minutes from, we have two meetings, two sets of minutes. So the first is from February 1st. That was our special meeting. And can we do one motion for both sets of maybe we should do one at a time. Okay, so we'll do, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 1st, 2023, our special meeting? Okay, Chantal made the motion. Is there a second? Yvonne, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, so let's vote on the motion to approve the minutes from February 1st, 2023. All in favor, either say aye or raise your actual or virtual hand. Okay, I see, let's see, Jasmine and Yvonne. I don't see, are you raising your hands or are you? No. So then 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5. Hold on. Oops. Sorry, had something blocking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 in favor. Any against? Okay, if your hand is raised from before, please take it down. Any abstentions? Okay, Sarah and Yvonne, thank you. Okay, so the next are the items for, the minutes from February 13th, our last regular monthly meeting. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Thank you, Sharon.
To approve.
And is there a second?
Second.
Chantal. Oh, okay. And any discussion on the February 13th minutes? No. Okay, so let's have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes. Everyone in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 in favor, I think. Any abstentions? Sorry, any nays? Yvonne is abstaining. Okay, and Sharon, are you abstaining or are you, that was from before? Okay, all right, I think we got that. So 5 in favor, 1 abstention, we're good. Okay, the next item is public comment. Michelle, is there anyone that you're aware of who's here with their hand up or waiting to make a comment?
No, I don't believe there is.
Okay. All right. So the next item, and I see that Alicia King has joined us. Thank you very much. So the next item is new business, and the first the item under that is the, oh wait, hold on, sorry, I'm looking at two different. Yeah, the Diversification of Boards and Commissions Committee. So I'm going to turn it over to, I think, to Sharon or Christina. I'm not sure. Okay, I'll turn it over to the two of you and Jasmine to take it from here.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to share my slides real quick. Okay. One sec. Okay. So my name is Sharon Bonate. As you guys know, I'm chair of the Diversification of Boards and Commissions Committee on the Commission on the Status of Women. And before I get started, I'd like to thank our Diversification Committee members who helped to put this presentation together and who have been a huge part of this work. That's Commissioner Prezi, Commissioner Testa-Buzzi, Commissioner and Vice Chair O'Toole Giandarco. And I also want to thank Chair Connor and our city appointed staff, especially Michelle Matthews-Woods. So let's get into it. And to give everyone some background on this presentation, our Diversification Committee presented this to the mayor, and Alicia King, who's on now, she's our chief of staff to the mayor, and we presented in May of this past year. We presented again to Latoya Fernandez, our city's first DEI officer, in December of this past year. And this presentation we've continued to update the data on. So we're really excited to continue partnering with the city to move our recommendations forward. And we're really grateful, honestly grateful, to have a city that's so willing to work with us on these efforts. So who and what is the Newark Commission on the Status of Women? Thanks to Mayor Rilling and Leisha King, the commission was reinstated in October of 2021. And I want to publicly thank them. So thank you, Mayor, Leisha. And I also want to thank State Representative Dominique Johnson for helping us to make this happen. As far as I know, we are one of 2 municipal women's commissions in Connecticut. So we're leading the way on this. Now, the purpose and function of the Commission on the Status of Women is to review progress and assist in the elimination of gender-based discrimination and to help improve the status of women, girls, and other marginalized gender identities, such as transgender people and gender nonconforming people in the city of Norwalk. Our goals are to partner with our mayor and the city to really institutionalize gender and racial diversity on Newark boards and commissions. We want this work to be a part of the DNA of the city so that if our commission were to stop or there were to be a new mayor, these diversity efforts would still continue. So let's take a look at the makeup and data of our city, right? So according to the US Census Bureau in 2021, we are 49.1% men and 50.9% women. And this does not reflect all gender identities. Now, as a multicultural woman myself, I felt that if we're going to look at gender, then we should really also look at race. And if you look at race and ethnicity data, Newark is approximately 51% white and 49% BIPOC, meaning Black, Indigenous, people of color. We currently have 32 boards and commissions. So let's take a look at the gender makeup of our boards and commissions. It is important to note that the current data that we have does not reflect all gender identities, as it says at the bottom of the screen. It's why we recommend that the city create an electronic voluntary self-identifying survey for all boards and commissions. Now, the appointments for the boards and commissions reflect 43% women and 57% men. That equates to 68 women and 91 men. And I can tell you firsthand, since I've been working on this for quite some time, that these numbers have improved since we first met with the city in May of last year. And we want to thank the city again for their intentional efforts in making this happen. It's really great. I want to speak briefly about the nuances of the data. So there are spots on commissions and boards where elected officials are part of the makeup of the boards or commission. So the mayor is not responsible for that, right? He's not appointing them, they're elected officials. For example, the library board, where we have elected officials from the 1st and 2nd taxing districts on the board. Another example is the 5 Mile River Commission. These commissioners are appointed by the governor. So we did not include these folks in our data because the mayor is not responsible for appointing these positions. We are strictly focusing in on appointed positions by the mayor. And good news, since we first met with the city in May, the city has appointed an additional 17 women to boards and commissions. And all power boards now have women on them, but we still have a little bit room for improvement. So here's a visual comparison of gender on our boards and commissions versus the makeup of the city of Norwalk. And while numbers are continuing to improve, we still have a little work to do. But I'd love to see this chart next year reflecting A, more gender identities, and B, really truly reflecting the demographics of our city. And we just have a little pie to fill out there. We're almost there. There's currently no data collected on race or ethnicity for boards and commissions, but this is something, again, that could be voluntarily captured along with gender. We want to track it so that we can monitor it each year and continue to make progress on it. So now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Commissioner Testa Buzzi.
Thank you, Sharon. And I apologize to you all for being late. It was a bit of a day at work and I just did not get myself organized in time. So thank you for pinging me, Sharon. So part of our research obviously did include looking at best practices and some research that was done on the benefits of diversifying boards and commissions, because it's one thing to say, we want to see this done, and it's equally important to see why we want this done and the benefits ultimately to the communities that we serve as board members and commissioners. So again, you can see them here. I really highlighted the key words. It allows us opportunities to connect with the entire community, not just portions. It actually leads to creative and collaborative problem solving. I'm just using my own experience in a work situation once. Someone commented to me about a staff member that I was working with that was on my team and said, Christina, she's so different from you. How do you guys get along? I'm like, well, we might not go out for dinner together, but her perspective and her viewpoints allow us to think bigger and more collaboratively and more creatively. And that sort of leads to both points, right? So it's important that the diversification in all sectors really does allow for that kind of creative and collaborative work and problem solving, but also increases team building. We learn from each other when we know more. When we know better, we do better, right? Representative decision making. So the hope is that with a diversified board and or commission, it does allow for decision making that is intended to be representative of the larger community. Also, it helps us keep each other in check. So we're less likely to have blind spots and biases. Now that requires open communication to say, hey, wait a minute, I don't know if that's really what we want to do, right? So that's an important piece of it. I think this one is really important, equitable allocation of resources. So if we have a diverse board and commission, then we're going to be making sure that the allocation of resources is ideally a more equitable approach. It also increases trust in our community members because that's who we're here to serve. And then it also does help to create a pipeline of diverse talent who can potentially run for additional programs and opportunities to serve the city in multiple ways, and including municipal and state office. So I think that's also a very important aspect to this work and why it's a benefit to diversify our boards and commissions. So there's really 5 best practices that help lead to those benefits. Ease and transparency in the application process and beyond. And I do think, Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we started this presentation, like when we first initiated it, I don't think the city had that online application.
That's correct. And I'll get into that in just a minute.
Got it. Thank you. So this is, I think, a step in the right direction. I know during our last, during one of our brainstorming sessions, though, we talked about the use and how this is the use of the form and how people are notified about it and what happens with the application that comes in. So I think that leads to the need for additional transparency. Community outreach. We can't turn to our friends, right? We need to turn to our friends and their friends, or our coworkers that maybe live in the community. We've got to make sure that as a best practice, we are not just saying we're trying, but to really show some dedicated commitment to outreach in the community and going into places where we may not normally reach out for community engagement. If we're encouraging and welcoming new folks that maybe haven't served on boards and commissions before, I think the commitment to professional development and training is critical. I often equate this to my world in higher ed, where at one point I remember that the thing to do was to recruit students of color to your campus, and that was wonderful, but where was the retention efforts to keep them there? And I think higher ed's come a long way because we don't talk about recruitment without retention at this point, ideally. So, something like that is an example of professional development and training to help our folks feel comfortable and remove barriers. Also, formal policies and procedures. I think that's important because it does lay a groundwork for everyone to understand sort of the ground rules. And then assessment of performance. Are we truly diversifying our boards and commissions? And from point A to point B, how have we done? So benchmarking where we are, which Sharon's done a great job on, and then benchmarking where we're going. And again, that's a source of our research.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So while the last few slides discuss the benefits of diversity and best practices to diversify boards and commissions, I'd now like to dive a little bit deeper into the strategies that fall under each of the best practices that Commissioner Testabuzzi just mentioned. So here are some really simple strategies. Christina mentioned some of these regarding ease and transparency in the application process and beyond. Since our meeting with the city, well, actually, let's go through these. And I just want to say everything that's in blue has already been done by the city since we met. So this is all progress. Anything in blue is progress. So number one, post board and commission openings on our city website and job board. So they do have now a city page where we can go there and you can look at the boards and commissions, and it tells you the number of openings. Okay. Provide an online application process that is transparent and easy. So they have done that. They put together an online application. This is the first time ever our city's done this, and it's very easy. I didn't bold the transparent part because I'm hoping we can make it a little more transparent. So who is the form going to? When should applicants expect to hear back, if at all? Those are things we'd like to see added in there. And continue to offer hybrid and remote and in-person meetings for accessibility, especially for those who have children. We want to make sure everyone can show up to the meetings, and the city's doing that. So thank you. So here are some strategies to increase diversity on boards and commissions through community outreach, right? So these are just suggestions that can be slowly rolled out. So the first one, actually, Leisha King was the one who suggested this, and Latoya Fernandez actually talked about getting funding for this. So host a City 101 public event to educate the public on city government and to identify potential board and commission member candidates. Number two, for community outreach, work with community organizations to recruit and educate on boards and commissions. So that's getting the word out so that we can break out beyond just the silos that we're in. Improve accessibility of public information of boards and commission activities. So posting them on social media, making people more aware of what's happening. And then the last one, add a mission statement or purpose and function to each board and commission webpage. So they have done that. They've added these purposes and mission statements. So when people go online, you can see which one might fit best for you. Now, strategies that fall under the best practice of professional development and training. Number one, provide DEI training to boards and commissions, including gender equality training. We have received a lot of feedback on women jumping on these boards and commissions and being uncomfortable or not being spoken to in the right way. And we think this will really help everyone. We would love to see it be required for chairs, co-chairs, and vice chairs. Number two, create a mentorship and our onboarding program for boards and commissions. And that's, again, so that when women join these boards and commissions, they don't feel like they're lost, they know where they're going. And really that could apply for anyone. Now, here are some strategies that fall under formal policies and procedures. It includes create a city policy that will help to ensure equitable representation that mirrors the makeup of the city. Number two, collect yearly voluntary self-identifying forms for all boards and commissions. We talked about that. And number three, revise the city charter where necessary or if they can. Lastly, so that the work is monitored and improved upon, we recommend that at the beginning of each year, there is a review of the data that we've captured, the policies and procedures, followed by improvements. So what role can the Commission on the Status of Women play in all of this? So one, we can support the efforts certainly by making appointment recommendations to the city, and we can talk about that at our next meeting. Number two, we want to assist and support the city in executing any of these key recommendations and strategies as needed. We're here for the city, and yeah, Leisha, please feel free to tap into this group. Now, here are the key recommendations that we gave to the city when we first met with Mayor Rilling and Leisha King in May of 2022. And we're thrilled with the progress they've made thus far. Everything in blue has been completed. Now, here is a proposed 2023 key recommendations. Number one, again, collecting that voluntary self-identified data for boards and commissions so that we have a starting point so we can see and monitor our progress. Number two, inform citizens via social media of new web pages and online application processes. Community outreach is key. And inform community organizations of board and commission postings and encourage them to join our effort in diversifying our boards and commissions. Create city policy. Provide that DEI training that we talked about with an emphasis on gender equality training. And then create an end of year review of the data policies and procedures as it relates to diversification of boards and commissions. Just a little quote Christina threw in here. Embracing a new organizational culture does not happen overnight. City managers should lead their teams and staff members in ongoing discussion about why their personal experiences matter and how they can help create lasting change that benefits the Einstein community they serve. So I threw in a couple of important web pages. So if the actual link is for the City of Norwalk Boards and Commissions page is here. The second one is to apply. That's the second link to open boards and commissions positions. And you guys should check out these pages. I'm really proud of the city and the work that we're doing to move things forward. If anybody watching has questions or comments, this is the information for Claudia, who's the chair, myself, and Michelle Woods Matthews, who's our city liaison. So that concludes our presentation. Does anyone on the committee have any comments to add? I can't see you guys, so.
Sharon, it's Claudia. I just wanted to say that so first of all, thank you and Christina and Jasmine. And it is, having been present at the May of 22 presentation to the city, it is really heartening to see the progress. So thank you. And thanks to Leisha and Michelle and the mayor, of course. I did see a lot of overlap with some of what we hope to do in terms of community outreach. And so I think that could be a discussion maybe for next month to really talk about how could the diversification committee and the community outreach and civic engagement committees kind of partner to really put some teeth to some of the recommendations that are made in your presentation.
Okay, great. I totally agree. And with that, I think what I'm going to do is turn it over to Leisha Kang. Thank you for joining us today and for being here. And then if you guys have questions, we'll take them after Leisha chats with us.
Great. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys so much for your work, not only for the presentation, but for really pushing this topic. I think, as we said the last time we met back in May, really getting a better handle on how we do appointments to boards and commissions has been something that's been at the top of my mind since I first came to work for the city over 6 years ago. For decades, really what had happened was that mayors were appointing people that they happened to personally know to boards and commissions, and there wasn't a process for it. Unfortunately, time and money are things that get in the way of focusing on this, right? So I'm really happy that you've taken this on and pushed it and made it really be something that we have to be looking at in the forefront. And like Sharon said, since you guys brought this to our attention in May, we've really made a lot of progress. There's a few things that I want to talk about that we're working on. And again, we just haven't had the staff time to do it as of yet, but we have a plan in our office to be able to start doing it. The first is the City Government 101 seminars that we would like to offer to the public to help people understand better how city government works, how the boards and commissions interplay with city government, and use that as a way to kind of start a pipeline to finding people who are interested in participating. The second thing you guys also are recommending, and that's really providing training to our boards and commissions on multiple things. The DEI and sensitivity training, of course, is important. We also, one of the things that I'm most concerned about is ethics training and Freedom of Information Act training, which are things that we do not currently do, as well as trainings on meetings, right? Like, what are Robert's rules and how do they work? How do you make a motion? How do you second a motion? And then finally, some real substantive training. I mean, depending on what board or commission you get appointed to, there's often some really basic background information that we are doing a disservice by not giving at least a base level training to people. You know, if folks are going on to planning and zoning For instance, we shouldn't expect a member of the public to really be fully versed on the terminology and et cetera of planning and zoning. So those are kind of 5 things that are on our list to start providing for all boards and commissions. As you can imagine, it's quite a big piece of work because you have to not only find the time, teachers to teach the information, but also track all of the board and commission members to make sure that they have gone through each of the trainings. And for some of them, like ethics, I think it's a training that people should have to go through once a year. That's also where we are thinking about potentially collecting some more of the demographic information that you guys are looking for. We've kind of gone back and forth about whether to ask for voluntary race and ethnic identification information on the form, but we felt like that wasn't really appropriate to put there. But I think that it's something that we could ask after people get on boards and commissions. I'm just trying to think through some of the things that you guys have talked about. I mean, here's another one that's a little bit tough in terms of wanting to be more transparent about how decisions are made about who actually gets put on boards and commissions. And there's a lot of things that go into that consideration. So, I mean, the bottom line is it's the mayor's decision. The reason that mayors or governors at the state level are given that power is because they are responsible for the outcomes of what happens on these commissions, right? So we want to make sure that there's diversity of opinion on the boards and commissions so that really fruitful discussion can take place. But it's also important that the mayor feels comfortable that the people who he is appointing to the boards or commissions are generally supportive of the vision that he would like the city to go in, right? He's not going to determine or control in any way what decisions they make on individual things that come before them. But it is his responsibility because at the end of the day, if the boards and commissions are making decisions that the residents are not happy with, he's the one who has to respond for it and be responsible for it. So that's kind of a hard to write down how that decision making happens, right? I mean, so that one's a little bit more squishy. I mean, I can't think of a better way to say it. Other things that we have to consider is having many of the boards and commissions have rules about who is on there, right? Some of them have rules about geographic diversity, that you can't have more than a certain number of representatives from any given district. And then we also have to balance the party parity rules, which are something that come down from Hartford. There's a chart that tells you how many of each party you can have on any given commission. So while the mayor makes every effort to make sure that we have a good mix of people coming before him, it's the combination of all of those factors is what goes in. It's not a formula, right? And it's a little bit different than when you're hiring somebody for a job, right? Because somebody may have the best credentials, but they might be fundamentally opposed to everything that the mayor's vision is, and he's not going to put that person on. I mean, it is a political process. Because and not political as in like who are you friends with or who do you like, but in terms of having a common vision about where you want the city to go. What else was I going to mention about this? I mean, I think that the best way for us to have the most diversity that we possibly can have on our boards and commissions is to have as many people to choose from as possible. Because honestly, that is where the biggest hangup comes. We don't have a lot of people applying, and any help that you guys can provide in terms of having more people submitting their interest, then there's more people to choose from. I mean, oftentimes we'll be in a situation where, I mean, we just ran into this with the parking authority. Nobody wants to be on the parking authority. We can't find people who want to be on the parking authority. And I mean, we finally, thank God Pam Parkington finally agreed to do it, but we had no women on the parking authority, and we were begging women to come on the parking authority. We were asking, I mean, I think I had conversations with you about it, Sharon, like, can you think of any women so that we don't end up with an all male parking authority? But it's just not a subject matter that a lot of women were willing to give up their time for. So, and we can't just leave it vacant. We actually did have a vacancy for, I think, over a year there because, you know, we did not want to fill it with, you know, another white man. We had 4 white men. But at some point you have to fill it, right? So luckily we were able to find Pam and she agreed to do it. But the biggest help would be helping us get the word out. And we will take some of your suggestions to heart in terms of doing more outreach on social media to get the word out. But we really need women to be helping find more women to put their names forward. That's kind of my reaction to your presentation. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm just gonna, Claudia, do you want to take it from here?
Sure, or you can, yeah, either way. So thanks, Sharon, and thank you, Alicia, for all of that. Let me just lower my hand.
Oh, sorry, can I just
yeah.
chime in for a second? Just
Yeah,
on that, to Alicia's point, because I when I was on the council, I was the minority leader who works with the mayor to get these positions filled. And to echo everything that she said, Mayor Reeling is very willing to sit down and be presented names and work through who we think the best fit will be. But if we don't, and it's a big umbrella of a we, don't give him names, we can't then say he's not filling the seats. And that goes for the Commission on the Status of Women, that goes for I'm the R on this committee. If the Republicans, the independents, the unaffiliated, if we're not bringing people to the mayor, then, you know, he can't pick. So I think as a commission to get as many women, you know, there's a lot of the Board of Ed and the budget stuff has brought a lot of moms out of the woodwork who maybe didn't really know about the processes and such. We need to just kind of tap into that and make people aware. You know, a little like kind of career fair of commissions, I think would really help people because they don't understand or they don't know that they can get involved and how it can really help. You know, new eyes on some of this stuff really helps. So thank you for your time, Alicia. It was really great to hear everything. And Sharon, I mean, that report to have 17 females put in, you know, in such a short amount of time is incredible. And I know that's just the first step. So it's very exciting and, you know, some very tangible things finished already.
are there, Christine, I see your hand is up as well.
Yes, thank you. Alicia, is there a budget for marketing to promote something like this, to promote that online application form? I know it's not the end all and the be all. I know it takes us hitting the pavement and saying, hey, here are my 3 Republican friends, here are my 3 Democrat friends, here are my 3 independent friends, you know, here are friends from this group, that group. I want you to go to this form, you know, fill it out if you're interested. These are some of the exciting commissions. You know, I know it takes that, but I also think that making the best faith effort to invest financial resources to marketing that might be a real commitment to expanding the broad reach of that application.
Yeah, I can talk about it with Michelle. We don't have a budget for it right now, but honestly, promoting Facebook posts is not that expensive. You know, so I think that we could do some promoting of our social media posts to get it beyond the reach of the folks that just already follow the city of Norwalk, to get it out. And I think that we do have an ability through Facebook and I'm sure through Instagram to target women that live in the Norwalk zip codes. So I think that's something we could take a look at. It's not that expensive. And I think we could probably find the money to do that. That's a good idea.
Right. And I think also hitting and maybe approaching various places of faith, approaching barbershops and hairdressing establishments, I think are an important way to increase the level of diversity. Again, just to make sure the application's aware and out there.
Yeah, you know, this is a weird one. And we run into this with all different types of topics, right? So there are some things that are ripe for outreach in barbershops and churches, et cetera. But other things like really need a conversation.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, like having a flyer up, like, are you interested in a border commission, like tear off a thing or do a QR code or whatever. It's one of the things you kind of have to cajole people to want to do. So I'm not saying no, but I think that there might be some more effective ways that we could get ambassadors out there in the community. I mean, particularly by working with folks in nonprofits who are having conversations with groups.
Mhm. Maybe that's.
But we're
that's
willing to
something.
have these kind of conversations. I mean, again, and to Shannon's point, I mean, to be honest, it's really hard to find non-Democrats. So the mayor's a Democrat, right? Our council is almost all Democrats. The people they know who they are bringing forward are Democrats for the most part. I mean, sometimes there's others, but what we end up with is we have a vacancy on a border commission for a Republican. You know what I mean? And then we're like, we don't know anybody.
Right. I guess there's a part of me that thinks then that leads to a bigger and more important question about openness and welcomingness
Yep.
to different conversations. So I think that almost triggers a different conversation. You know, why is that the case? I guess is what I would ask.
So
I'm not asking you that, but
Yeah. No.
in
I'm just saying that a lot of times,
general.
you know, we just need help. We need help with
Mhm.
people coming forward, and particularly people that have a mix of political backgrounds.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So I was going to ask a minute ago, and it ties in very much with this, you know, rather than, well, in addition to the social media outreach, I mean, could this commission collaborate with you, Leisha, and the city on doing some, as others are saying, kind of, very kind of strategic and deliberate outreach to a variety of places, so that we're not necessarily waiting for people to open the Facebook page or come to the city or look at the city's website, which I'm sure a very, very few people look at the city's website. So, you know, that we could come up with kind of a, you know, dog and pony show of like, this is of like a mini city 101 that would be, you know, with the city's stamp of approval and hopefully with somebody from the city there, and then identify, you know, different existing communities and groups around the city that we could just go to one of their meetings, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, I don't know. I mean, we could come, you know, and it would be a bit time consuming, but if we split it up and we have like kind of a 15-minute you know, or 5-10-minute presentation and then an information sheet, I mean, it would be a way to reach a wide swath of people of different, you know, political persuasions, and a variety of other diversity dimensions, you know, and to take the information to them, you know, I mean, you know, the PTOs at the high schools and middle schools, you know, that we could always get a few minutes on an agenda, or other community-based groups in the different parts of the city. I think if we could get a diverse list of those existing entities and kind of just map it out and take, you know, a couple of us go with you and whomever, and just hit a bunch of them, you know. Is that like, yeah, those of you who know the city and how it works, I mean, what is that? Could that work? Do you think that would be possible?
We can try it.
Claudia, I love the idea. Yeah, I'm like, Leisha's open to however we can make the community engagement part happen. And
Yeah.
so, I didn't say it before, but I mean, I said it before, but I want to say it again. Thank you, Leisha, for all of this, and for being so open, for coming on and continuing to work with us, because I know this stuff isn't going to happen overnight, but really getting it into the DNA of the city is going to take time. So thank you for working with us.
Mhm. So what would be, just so we hopefully have like a next step coming out of this, what would that be? Would that be sort of a meeting with you, Leisha, with whomever from the commission is interested in moving that forward, either folks from the diversification committee and or the community outreach committee, which we just formed last month, you know, and then kind of come up with a game plan. And yeah, I defer to you. I'm looking at you, Leisha, on
Yeah, let's do it.
how to move it forward.
Let's set up
Michelle.
a meeting. Michelle and I will meet with whoever you guys decide that you want to send as ambassadors, and we can come up with a game plan.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I would just add to that, I think some of the other recommendations that Sharon went over also, right, like how the Community Outreach and Civic Engagement Committee, I think in the special meeting you all had, you talked about potential recruitment events, like you were just saying, Claudia, what you guys can plan, what the outreach and recruitment plan could be, right? What your targets might look like as a commission for reaching out to these different groups. So I think there's some internal work that you guys can think about on different committees about how to enhance recruitment for boards and commissions too. So I just want to put that out there.
good point. And I think we'll take that on board. Other thoughts, comments, questions?
I also want to thank Sharon, Jasmine, and Christina for that great putting together that great PowerPoint and presentation. That was really, really well done. And as Leisha said, I know something that the mayor and Leisha are really passionate about and are really thankful that you guys have brought this to the city's attention. So thanks for that great presentation.
Great. Okay. Excellent. Well, I think with that, then we'll move, if there is no other comment on that, we can move to the next item. And Leisha, you're welcome to stay. You probably have 47,000 other things to do.
I
But
would love to stay. I have to go to the BET meeting. I would much rather stay here.
thank you
so much
your
for having me.
time.
And again, thank you so much for all of the work that you guys have done. It's really making a difference. I think you can see it in the numbers. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
You ladies. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is we wanted to talk about 2 advocacy efforts to support legislation this session. And there are 2 specific items. Michelle, do you want to talk about the domestic violence and gun control?
Yeah,
first?
so basically these were just 2 items that we wanted to bring to your attention, but if anyone has other legislation that they, saw, they heard about, and they want to bring forward to the commission to think over and consider supporting or advocating for in some way, please also feel free to do that. So I wanted to just talk about it's a gun violence and domestic violence bill that the governor introduced, and I'm just going to pull up some notes about it real quick. Give me 1 second. I just had it up and then it disappeared. Sorry. Okay, so the exact bill is HB 6667, and it's one of the governor's gun safety proposals, but there's a few elements of it that directly correlate with reducing domestic violence from gun violence related harm. And I think, as you guys probably are aware, there was a few terrible incidents just this year, and I think that sparked this bill potentially to move to the top of legislature's agenda. So a few things that this bill would do as related to domestic violence is it would require a 10-day waiting period before purchasing a firearm. So current state law allows residents with the appropriate documentation, registration, to walk into a gun store, purchase an unlimited number of firearms, and walk out with them immediately. So this basically would delay the instant access to firearms, a cooling off period that can help prevent impulsive acts of gun violence as well as suicide. So that's one part of it. The other part is requiring safe storage regardless of who lives in a given residence. So in 2019, the governor and the General Assembly enacted Ethan's Law, a crucial step towards ensuring that all firearms are safely stored. And that law currently applies to minors and people prohibited from possessing firearms or people likely to cause harm from access to a residence. And this proposal seeks to expand that law to prevent firearms from being stolen and used in the future by making all firearms owners responsible for storing their firearms, regardless, again, of who has access to the residence. And then there's one other element that's a little bit more nuanced, making a commission of a family violence crime or being a fugitive an automatic disqualifier for holding a pistol permit. So anyone who's been convicted of domestic violence offense is automatically disqualified from owning a gun under federal law, but not necessarily under a state permit law. So this provision would apply to someone who's a fugitive from justice, and it would instead, this proposal automatically disqualifies anyone who has been convicted of a family violent crime from holding a state gun permit. And then there's a few other provisions that aren't directly tied into domestic violence situations, but I can send you the link for folks to read over in case this ends up being something that folks want to consider supporting, whether that's written testimony or other ways that folks might think about supporting a bill. So, and I know Sharon might dive into this, but if the full commission wants to support this bill or another bill, you all can vote on potentially writing a joint testimony. That's just an example. Maybe one person wants to write a testimony. So anyway, just a lot of things to consider. I don't know if anyone has any questions, or Claudia, if you want to, I know, Sharon.
I was like, wait, what?
Claudia, if you want to talk about the child marriage ban bill.
Sure, yeah. I also have some notes on this. So this was, Michelle brought this via email to my attention, and I think Shannon was on that email. So this is House Bill 6569, called an act concerning the minimum age to be eligible to marry. It's coming out of the Judiciary Committee, and Dominique Johnson is a co-sponsor of the bill. Basically, the bill would increase the legal age to marry in the state of Connecticut to 18 years of age and eliminate the current ability for minors between 16 and 17 years old to marry. Laws like this have been passed in New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, and Connecticut is really kind of an outlier on this. Dominique had let me know that there was, I believe, a press conference today held by the Lieutenant Governor. I am out of town, so wasn't able. It was live on television. I don't know if anyone saw it. The bill is bipartisan. It did already have a public hearing, but Dominique said we can absolutely submit written testimony. And the other thing she said that would be extremely helpful is to reach out to members of the Judiciary Committee who have not yet co-sponsored or indicated how they view this. She did say that one goal is that the committee votes to give the bill a favorable report. And because it's a joint House and Senate committee, it would be a joint favorable report, and that could be very impactful. So there's some additional, I mean, in the interest of time, I won't go through the background, but in detail, but just to say that I feel I was appalled to learn about this and kind of embarrassed that I didn't know where Connecticut is on this. I, in past work, lived overseas in different jobs, have worked on fighting child and forced marriage in other countries, and that it's happening in Connecticut just really was sort of mind-boggling and upsetting to me. And I think, that it, to me, is a very important thing if we could take any action that would help to advocate on behalf of the passage of this. And just to add that the State Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity has, as you can imagine, come out with a very strong statement in favor of this bill. So I would love to Dominique connected me with someone on her staff who she said could help kind of just with what to do with the written testimony and timing and to whom to submit it. I would be I would raise my hand to take a first pass at drafting something on behalf of the commission. I just need the guidance from her on how long and what that would look like. And then I've also asked them for the members, the name of the and names and contact information of the members of the Judiciary Committee so that we can know who to reach out to. But I don't want to do that on behalf of the commission without, of course, everyone's consent and agreement. So I would like to put that out for discussion and see if, yeah, kind of questions, thoughts, and then maybe we could take a vote on whether we could proceed with supporting that. Chantal.
I would support such a move.
So, so would it be appropriate to ask for a motion to support that the commission take some action in written testimony and outreach to the Judiciary Committee? And if that's
think so.
appropriate. Okay,
think
so may I have a motion to that effect?
I would like to move a motion for the commission to reach out to the judiciary for to support this bill.
Thank you, Yvonne. Is there a second? Okay, Sharon and Shannon, great. Any discussion or questions or comments?
Claudia, if you need any help, like I don't feel comfortable trying to draft something, but happy to provide some input or help send out the emails, whatever we need to do.
That's great, Shannon. Thank you. I definitely would love to get another set of eyes on something before I send it. It would be my first time submitting written testimony for a bill like this. So I will definitely send it to you, Shannon, as vice chair, and just because you offered, thank you. And anyone else who wants to see it. And again, I have no idea sort of we're talking, you know, one page or what. So and then when yes, if it's I don't know how many people we would need to reach out to, but that would be great to sort of see if other folks want to do some of that outreach as well. Okay, so I guess we have the motion, we have the second. So could we take a vote on that motion to do the outreach and written testimony on HB 6569? All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Okay, and Chantal and Jasmine, Chantal, I see. Jasmine, are you there? Are you in favor? Okay, thank you. Then it is unanimous. Thank you so much. Great. All right. That's great. Let me see where we are in the agenda. Okay, I don't know, Michelle, before we move on, did you want to say anything else about the legislation you just went over, or do you want to send out the information and we take it from there?
It's whatever you all prefer. I know the bill that I talked about is a little bit loaded with a lot of provisions. So I can send that along unless people want to talk about it now or have any other suggestions.
I would love to get more information.
Okay, that sounds good. I do think as a heads up that the governor and the lieutenant governor are big advocates about this bill. So is Attorney General Tong, just as a heads up as they fight some of the Supreme Court's recent decisions. I think that recently overturned some gun legislation that in their minds doesn't protect domestic violence victims and survivors as much. So I say all that because we have been approached, the city and the mayor, about potentially doing an event with them to support this bill. And if we do, I will absolutely let you all know about the event in addition to sending along that information.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Chantal,
I have a question for Michelle. So how fast do they need us to engage into supporting the bill?
No, so nothing's mandatory, just to be super clear, right? That part is up to you all. I think the timing for each bill is different, right? It depends on when it's being heard in committee. So that's a really good question, but I think if you guys are interested in this one, then we would find out when the critical time would be and get back to you. We could ask Dominique or Representative Johnson, Senator Duff, and get a clear answer. And then again, if you guys see anything else you're more interested in addition to these bills, then let us all know as well, just to see if that's something the commission supports and wants to make an advocacy move on. So we'll get back to you about that question too.
Okay, thank you. The next item is community outreach and civic engagement work project ideas. So this is, so the committee, we had a doodle poll. We only, in the end, it was only Melody and myself that were able to meet. Neither Jasmine or Yvonne could join last Wednesday, I think. So she and I talked, and she had a idea that she was going to share this evening about a partnership that she had pursued with Stepping Stones. And I think that, yeah, it would be something where we would, kind of once a month, a session with some of their, with an existing activity that they have going on. She was planning or hoping to get the consensus. I said we needed to bring it to the commission to get everyone's approval, but I think she was hoping to launch it this month for Women's History Month, but she's not here. And so I think we'll just ask her to share that at the next meeting. And the other, and then we're hoping to try to get a regular meeting of that committee scheduled. There was one other idea that Michelle brought to me about, which is really for next March, so we do have time, which is really trying to plan an event that would mark Women's History Month and specifically maybe International Women's Day on March 8th. And Michelle's thought was to try to, maybe do something in conjunction with the city or some of the other, whether it's at City Hall or wherever, and have it, be a celebration of women. And this was something, as you may remember, something that Marguerite Luter from Arlington, Virginia also had said that was one of the things that they do as a Women of Vision Award that they do at in their case at the county commission and I did have a chance to speak with Marguerite recently, just last week, in conjunction with some of the questions that came out of the research committee, which we'll move to in a second. But one of the things she said to me was she strongly encourages us to create some, even if it's a small but kind of flagship event, because it raises visibility. It's a great community engagement opportunity. And she said, even though they don't raise a lot of money with it, it's a little bit of money that they can do whatever they want to, print things, pay for do tables, whatever it is. So Michelle, I'm going to just see if you wanted to add anything further on that idea of an event for March to start next year.
Yeah, I think I used to live in Arlington County, Virginia, and I went to some of the Vision of Women awards that they held. And I think some of the benefits of an event like this is that it has an annual date attached to it where people get excited, and that then allows more people to know that the commission exists. And then obviously when you award someone, right, there's even more recognition within the community. Oh, who is that person? Why did they get awarded? And it just creates a presence for the commission that I think is really unique, regardless of whatever criteria you decide, if you decide to do this. And it's nice for people to look forward to an annual event like this that lifts up one woman in particular a year. Of course, you could do it however you want. You could do 5 women, or you can do a non-gender conforming person. I mean, the sky is the limit, but I think the idea of having an annual event around that the Women's Commission owns is just a really nice thing for the community to learn more about the great work you do. And then I think Claudia and Marguerite also talked about how at these events they would brand the commission, right, and have the mission statements up and kind of hand out like small materials that engaged people, educated people in the community who are interested in this work, just what the commission was, you know, what their mission was, and maybe one or two things they achieved that year, whatever it might be. It just brings a lot of great exposure, an event like that.
So, yes,
Thanks,
Sharon.
Hi there. First of all, I love the legislation talk. That's great. I love seeing this group evolve. It's so amazing. But my question real quickly is about the event. So are you saying we would be charging people, or is this something, I think LaToya had talked about funding, trying to get funding for us. Is this something maybe we connect with LaToya on? Just an idea, because I think she was going to talk to another group that could fund this.
I think one of the benefits, and then I'll let you go, Claudia, is that the proceeds that you get from an event like this, like if you charge people $10 a person, whatever it might be, you use those funds throughout the rest of the year too for your priorities. But Claudia, I don't know if you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's totally up for whatever we would want to make it, right? And LaToya did talk about connecting with, I know she had met with the Fairfield County's Community Foundation. I know several of us have worked with them in different ways. I don't know that there would be a funding opportunity for the commission. I think there would be a partnership opportunity for sure. Like she had said, she thought they'd be like the fund for the FCCF fund for women and girls might want to partner with the commission on like a women's empowerment event or something like that, or on a community event. It's certainly, I mean, we've got plenty of time to explore it further. And, you know, maybe it is to be good to, and, you know, yeah, I don't know, I don't know how we should move it forward, or if there's sort of, if we want to get just sort of a pulse check on whether, I see Sarah's hand is up. Hang on half a sec. Just maybe we get a pulse check on whether we want to continue the conversation for now without sort of saying like we want to do this, that, or the other. Sarah.
I just wanted to add, and I'll bring this up also during the research committee update, but I actually met with the program officer for the Women and Girls Fund at FCCF last week about research committee table survey idea. And for this fiscal year, they're obviously like out of funds for the small grants. So this is more about funding opportunities. But they also were unsure of potential opportunities for funding in the future because we're city-based. So if it was more of a Fairfield County thing, and they think they would be more open to it. But all of that to say that I only talk to them about funding opportunities, not specifically partnership opportunities. So maybe that's still on the table.
So maybe we can just, I mean, maybe just to get like consensus, not like a, you know, if there's consensus that this is an idea worth continuing to talk about and flesh out, and maybe, you know, maybe the Community Outreach and Civic Engagement Committee could come up with a few ideas and share those at our next commission meeting, and then kind of see how it might dovetail with what the research committee is doing, or just sort of see how we might want to take it forward. Does that make sense? Or do people have a strong feeling that we should absolutely not pursue it, or absolutely, or does it make sense to kind of continue the conversation? I see a few nods.
I think we should keep moving forward. You know, we've got the timeline. We know it's in a year, so let's keep fleshing it out of what makes the most sense and what will hit the most people that we're trying to reach.
Okay, I think that sounds good. Great. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so now we will go on to old business. So we have our committee reports from the committees. I already touched on the things from the Community Outreach and Civic Engagement. Just what I already said, and there's a pending doodle poll for the next meeting. So thanks, Yvonne, for answering that. And so we can just go on to the research committee. Sarah.
Sure. I am happy to we've been working on a lot of different things, so I do have an update finally. Um, we are working simultaneously on two things. One, the opportunity to potentially do a table survey at a community event or two this summer, trying to get around the fact that there's a little bit of fatigue around surveys in the community, but still wanting to gauge, what the community thinks our priorities should be. Before we've started, you've all seen a spreadsheet where we kind of came up with the areas of questions that we want to include in such a table survey. We our next phase is to work on the details of the actual survey questions. But before that, we wanted to explore potential logistics. So like, can we actually do this as a table survey in the community, which is why I had the meeting with FCCF. Michelle has been really helpful the past week, trying to see if we have any access to funds through the mayor's office. So we'll be putting together a request to cover the tabling fee for the Sono Arts Fest as the community event that we'll target first. And we'll submit that to the mayor's office and hopefully be able to do that. And then Claudia and Melody have been helping us get more details on localities that have done table surveys or surveys. So we have the report and sort of methodology details from I think it was the state of Florida that did one. And then Claudia has gotten some really good details from, is it Marguerite, from the person that visited us a few meetings ago. So we're going to meet as a research committee next week to sort of parse through those details and see if, what areas we don't have to recreate the wheel, and what areas we need to customize to Norwalk. And then we're also trying to work toward the follow-up to Bob Cacienda's visit about feminine products in city buildings. So we've since gotten a list of city buildings. And Yvonne is working on some cost analysis, and Melody and I are working on a spreadsheet to figure out other local groups that might be able to help us with those efforts. I think that's it, but Claudia and Yvonne, feel free to chime in if I missed anything. And just, of course, we'll bring anything to get feedback on from the larger committee on questions, logistics, and all that. So we'll keep you all updated.
Great, Sarah. Thank you for your leadership on that and for the committee's work. Very exciting. All right, hold on. Where's my agenda? Sorry. Okay, the last committee is the Diversification of Boards and Commissions Committee. I don't know if you have, I'll turn that over to you, Sharon, if you have anything else to report.
Yeah, because you haven't heard enough from me tonight. So our committee was really laser focused on this presentation and the contents within it. So I'd like us to meet again this coming month, and we want to hash out like how we want to move forward. But again, from our perspective, we want to stay focused on the contents of moving ahead with all of these suggestions. So we'll come up with ideas on how to continue the conversation and the action items. Thanks.
That's great. And it's very super inspiring and heartening to see like how both the two committees, research and diversification, have like found concrete things to move forward. And in the case of the diversification committee, like real progress. And it's what we want to be doing, right? I think we want to find a handful of things that are meaningful to us and our community and really see progress so that a year from now we can say, here's what we achieved. So I think that is such a great example of that. So thank you very much to all of you. Okay, updates about the April 10th meeting. So as we talked about in February, members of the Norwalk Actions for Reproductive Justice asked if they could come to one of our meetings. We had asked if they could come to April instead of tonight because we had a lot going on already on this agenda. So they will present to the commission at our April meeting and discuss upcoming events. But since there are two events, or one meeting and one event before then, they asked if we could share that. So they have the meeting is their regular monthly meeting, which is on the third Thursday of the month at Eco Evolution on Washington Street. That is this Thursday, the 16th is there, and I believe it's 7 o'clock. I think 7 o'clock. And then Michelle, I see you coming off mute.
I was just gonna say, I can't believe this is the third Thursday of the
I know.
month.
I know.
Is that,
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my God.
Yeah. And then they have an event on March 31st, a Friday at the Blind Rhino in South Norwalk. It is a fundraising event. It's $10 to get in. It's I can't remember who they're raising money for. Wait, I have the email. Hold on half a second. It
It's
is
for Reach Fund of Connecticut.
Yes.
The only
Right.
abortion funds organization in Connecticut.
and it's called the Women's Bar Skitball event, and they will be watching the women's Final Four, NCAA Women's Final Four at 7 p.m. They have a bunch of raffle items and things like that. So anyway, we were asked to just let you all know about that. So I'm letting you know about it. And then Michelle, do you want to just touch on the Lieutenant Governor's visit since you were in touch with her team?
Yes, I know I feel like a broken record here, but we have put a bunch of our upcoming meeting dates on her scheduler's calendar, and when she's available, she can't wait to meet with us to brainstorm outreach events and ways that we can partner with the state commission. So looking forward to when she is able to confirm her attendance.
Awesome. Thank you. So before we adjourn, just one plug that we do have one. So we have one new member who was appointed and she'll join us next month, and Michelle can share her bio. We do still have one vacancy, however, I believe. And so just to the discussion earlier in our meeting, please think about, encourage people, to go to the city website and apply, talk about the commission, talk about, what we're trying to accomplish, what our purpose and mission are. But I think, we all together collectively could really try to encourage a wide range of folks to apply for that seat. Anything else? No. Okay, then I think we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. I'll get there.
So moved.
Christina, thank you. Seconded? Oh, someone seconded. Who was that? Did I get a second? Oh, thank you, Jasmine. Okay, then the meeting is adjourned at 8:18. Yes, sorry. I'm in Central Time, so I'm a little confused with 8:18 Eastern Time. Thank you all so much for everything.
Thank you, Claudia.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks,
Good
guys.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.